The following podcast is a Scrum Inc. production.
Hi, welcome back to the Agile CEO. I'm your host, as always, Sutherland, CEO of Scrum Inc., and I am really excited about our guest today, George Champlin-Scharff, who just joined Scrum Inc. I've been trying to convince him to come on board for, I don't know, at least 10 or 12 years. But before we get into that, why don't we talk about, and I like to do this with most people on the show, how did you discover Agile and Scrum, and what was sort of your aha moment, and when was that?
Okay, so we're gonna go back a little ways. I think there are three things that stick out, kind of a before, a start, and then an after for me. The before, I spent some time working at IBM, and we used to work on products with years in the name, right? Where it was like, the 1997 edition, the 1998 edition
Right.
of the thing. And it was the fall of one of those years, brought a customer in for kind of a feedback session. And my friend Nancy brought them into the room. We had like one of those, it's like on a police drama where you had like the mirror, and there were a bunch of us behind the mirror we could see through, and they
Uh-huh.
had cameras, like old school kind of observation room.
You do good cop, bad cop.
Oh yeah, exactly. So Nancy brings this customer in, and it's like, oh, hey, how have you been? How's your year been? We haven't seen you since when were you here? February? Oh yeah, great. Oh, good summer. Fall's looking good. Great, great, great. So she starts going through the kind of prepared pitch, and he looks really, really confused. And she kind of like backs up, and she's like, I feel like we're not like on the same. And he's like, what? I don't understand. And she kind of replayed from her notes, like what he had talked about. And he was like, oh, yeah, we don't have to do that anymore. And we in the room were like, what? Like we just, oh. So that was like before,
So we
right?
spent
So
like
that was
6 months solving a problem that didn't
yeah,
need to be solved.
yeah, because we hadn't like had continuous check-in with the
Right.
customer. We hadn't iterated. We made a plan at the start of the year, and then we marched to that plan. Um, so what I didn't know is that other people were having these kind of experiences, and like, and some of them got together in a room and wrote a bunch of things down, and a little while later, I was working on uh, early like mobile software for Blackberries, I think, at
Nice.
the time, right?
I
So
loved my BlackBerry. That was awesome. I felt very cool when I had a BlackBerry. It was awesome.
it was great. I mean, it was like the future. Oh, I could always be in contact. It was,
Totally. Yeah, we lived in
um,
the future.
yeah, and then we gotta do like an all hands, and they're like, all right, we're gonna do this new thing called Agile, and here's the difference. We're gonna, instead of working on things for long, like a multi-year thing, we're gonna do iterative small changes. And I remember thinking, oh God, this is never gonna work. I was really fortunate. I think I've talked to a lot of people over the years that had kind of a negative first experience, but we had this guy who came in and got it, And I remember that project had been not going so well. And he came in and like started to get things happening and get people unblocked, and I remember thinking, oh, I guess I was wrong, because I guess this works. Um, and then the third thing was kind of an aha moment where I was working in the Watson organization, and working with this team that had really started to fall behind. And by this point, I was like a senior technical staff member. I tended to get like reassigned to projects and like tried to help them,
Right.
get going again. And we implemented what I didn't know officially at the time was a scaled daily scrum, right?
Uh-huh.
We didn't call it that. IBM used its own lingo and stuff. So we had each one of the small squads, as we called them, like run a stand up. And then I got the squad leads, scrum masters, together into into a literally face-to-face meeting because we were all in one place. And it was like, all right, so you all just met. Who's blocked? And one of the squad leaders was like, all right, I got a problem for you. We can't roll our thing out in the EU because one of the dependencies is only available in Dallas, and so we're stuck. And I was like, oh, okay. Any of you guys own that like dependency? And everyone was like, no, that's not us. So we brought it up to the next level. And the directors in that org got together, and I'm like, all right, you're coming with me. We're going to go talk to the leadership team. And they described the problem. And one of the people said, she was like, oh, wait, what did you say it was called? Oh, okay, that's somebody over in IBM Cloud. I know some people over there. Give it to me. I'll see what I can do. And like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, she sends a message to the rest of us and is like, all right, it's going to be deployed today. And the guy who brought the problem was floored, like absolutely floored, because I was like, how long have you been stuck? And he was like 12 weeks. Like,
Wow.
so long. And that was like, I was like, okay. So that was kind of the third moment, right? It was like, before I knew there was anything better, my initial experience is that, oh, there could be something better here. And then like proof, like real proof. And then we use that to like as like evidence, right? Because like,
Yeah, how expensive is a team being frozen for 12 weeks?
I
That's a
know.
lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And in that moment there, like became a thing that we like held up and said, this works. And it's kind of how we really, really started to make progress in being able to deliver faster, So
So was that when you sort of formally adopted, Scrum techniques, or were you just sort of reinventing them through experience?
so that was definitely more formal than just reinvention or experimentation out of ignorance.
Right.
There were a lot of things that kind of came second hand or third hand or even fourth, like those Spotify videos that
Yeah, the
Spotify
Henrik
put out.
Spotify videos. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like those are great because they were like less they were more like hip and cool, and like
Yeah.
engineers went, "Oh, Spotify's cool. I like that. Oh, they're
Yeah.
doing this." But you look at it and you're like, "Oh, well, okay, that's this, part of the Agile Manifesto renamed. That's this part of the Scrum Guide renamed. That's this part." You know what I mean? So, yeah, like I was there at IBM for a while and got to see like multiple failed transformation attempts across multiple different divisions. And it wasn't really until Ginny, who was the CEO for a while there, brought this guy Jeff Smith in as CIO, and there was like strong support at the top. And then things like the Spotify videos were like inspiring like the individual, contributors, developers, team members. And then there was the middle that was a challenge. But yeah, that's kind of like when things really started moving.
So you and I met at speaking at this conference, and you raised your hand. I think it was an conference. I'm not sure who sponsored the conference. And you said, well, how long do you think sprint length should be? Because everyone was like doing 2 or 3 week sprints at that point. And I was like, I don't know, whatever works for you, but I really like 1 week sprints.
Yeah.
And you just shouted yes from the thing.
That's right. I did. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was in Boston. I think it was an event sponsored by the Mass Technical Leadership
Right,
Council.
something like that. Yeah.
You'll see something like that. Yeah, I remember it. Like it just seemed like, okay, yes, he gets it, right?
You told me when you were at Watson, one of the things you would do is when a team was slow, you would put a team that was doing like 2 week sprints or 3 week sprints or whatever.
Yeah.
You would get a team doing 1 week sprints sitting next to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So nothing helps people get over the pushback, like seeing their peers succeed. And you like at the time, I think we're in the period of time where IBM hadn't yet gotten rid of stack ranking.
Uh-huh.
So there was this kind of like cultural, like, oh God, I got to be better than other
Right.
people because, and we would, because 1 week sprints are completely compatible with everything else,
Right.
we could run a 1 week sprint on one small team while other people were doing two or three or other, and you could see the difference. And that supported by, we had gotten systems to the point where the tooling wasn't holding people back, right? Where people weren't like being slowed down by having to wait for tests to finish running or things like that. So I think the thing that always helped more than anything else was just evidence of success and being
Right.
able to say, like, all right, this team over here is cranking through their stuff and they've broken their work down a little more incrementally than you have, but they're delivering value to customers more quickly. Um, Maybe smaller, but those small things became big things over time.
Right.
We used to do stuff like that a lot. It was so much fun. In all honesty, I know I'm sure like some of the people, there was also a lot of discomfort and a lot of pushback. But, at the end of the day, when people got things done and felt done on a regular basis, it like helped. There was a book. It's called The Progress Principle.
Uh-huh.
That looked at like long-term employee like happiness.
Uh-huh.
And it was like I'm probably getting this really wrong, but it was something along the lines of, more than money, more than power, more than anything else, feeling like you've made progress on meaningful work and feel
Yeah.
done on a regular basis, like really lifts up people's happiness. And having a 1 week sprint, it's like baked in there because it's like it's the work week, right?
Yeah.
You like come in fresh. You got a plan for the day, plan for the week. You get some stuff done. You have some successes, and then you get a weekend, and you get to unplug and unwind and reset
Right.
and move on from there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm a big fan of 1 week sprints, and I've always kind of like personally like run 1 week sprints for things that I've been working on while
Uh-huh.
even when others are running 2 week sprints,
Right.
and trying to be like, hey guys, this is better. You get that little break point in between, So anyway,
So obviously, coming out of the Watson project, you had a lot of experience in AI going well back before this current moment.
yeah,
And one of the things, like every customer we talk to is like, well, we got to do AI. We have to do AI. Most of them are not sure exactly what for, but they have to do AI. And they've often asked, okay, well, should we invest in Agile or should we invest in AI? And when I asked you that question, you had a really great answer. So I wanted you to have an
yeah.
opportunity to have the
I
floor.
mean, so that lean is the other one that gets thrown in there too, right? Agile, lean, or AI? Agile, lean, or AI? And it's really like, that's like saying, should I invest in the engine, the suspension, or the transmission, and the wheels? Like you
Right.
need all of it together to get somewhere. The thing that I think a lot of people maybe forget in the moment, right, is that Agile and Scrum will help you get aligned, help you figure out what's getting in your way, bring those things to the surface. Lean thinking can help you figure out how to remove the things that are slowing you down, right? Especially in systems. And then, like, AI is the thing that we can use to accelerate all of this. And if you haven't figured out what's getting in your way, you're going to just create bottlenecks faster and get more people struggling faster because you've been able to turn certain things around faster. If you don't look at AI through a lens of continuous improvement and you just like ask it to do something and then get disappointed with the results, you're going to like maybe not continue to use it, right? You have to experiment, you have to iterate. If you don't use all three of these things together, you're gonna like get left behind because your competitors are,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the thing, because they're nobody. If you are forming a committee to try and figure out what your AI policy is right now, like your competitors are already applying it and already have been for years at this point. I mean, in
Right.
2025, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I always think, the humans are, definitely the slowest piece in the loop. I mean, there's a story I tell a lot,
Yeah.
uh, and it's that, I don't know, this is maybe 15 years ago, that Gary Kasparov, the great, Russian chess grandmaster, he
Yeah.
decided, okay, listen, all the robots can beat, the humans at chess, hands down, no problem. Like your iPhone can beat the best chess player that is possible for a human to be. So
Yeah.
let's have a chess tournament. And
Mhm.
that's going to say we can have humans, we can have machines, we can have humans and machines, we can do whatever you want. And so, Deep Blue was there,
Yeah.
all of the, big supercomputers were there, and these grandmasters working with them. And the people who won
Yeah.
were two guys with a laptop. And what Kasparov said is it's the way they interacted with the machine, because they
Yeah.
said it's not just machine plus human. It needs to
Yeah.
be a machine plus human plus better process.
Yes. Yes.
And I've found that that is a really interesting, because I see, a lot of people like, okay, here's AI, go do something.
For what purpose? For what outcome are you trying to achieve? What thing is getting in your way? Yeah. It's so like i- if we don't adopt AI as the thing that will help us become like the best version of ourself.
Mhm.
Like I can, if I'm trying to, my last role, I worked I was the VP of product and customer success for this startup called Zenhub, and uh, competitive research, right? Like
Mhm.
I could go off and spend weeks doing competitive research, but then like now you can farm off, you could put, ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini in competition with each other and say, like, all right, I need to learn as much as possible about this, and that, or like what else is happening in the space, or who else has started down this path, who has tried this and failed. And you give them a bunch of stuff, you ask it for like, ask me clarifying questions, you go in, get through, and then you have the systems go off and do all of the kind of grunt work, right?
Mhm.
And then come back, and then you have new information that you can use to then make better informed decisions. Like I may have not known that like this great idea that we had, that somebody tried this already. They raised $18 million. They spent 3 years doing this, had a great launch on Product Hunt, and still crashed and burned because it wasn't actually solving an outcome that anybody really needed to like
Right.
do. You know, it's in how we use these things together that like really accelerate us.
So what would your advice be to someone who's like, okay, I have some agile teams,
Mm,
I'm doing this. I know I need to incorporate AI into
mm.
my workflows. What is the first thing they should do?
Start with a retro. Like start with a retrospective. Like figure out what's working well, what isn't working well, and then come up with some experiments to try, right? And then um and then ask yourself like, can we use AI to accelerate this experiment? Can we use AI to run this experiment? Can we use AI to help us make this problem completely obsolete? Is there something we can automate here? Like, um, I in the past, I have not always remembered to try and nail it before I scale it, right?
Mhm.
And that was a hard lesson that I learned a lot, unfortunately, many times. Uh, but, um, but like, if you can start small, if you can start with a team, if you can start with individuals, um, and try and run experiments, figure out what's working, what isn't working, figure out what tools are good for what purposes. Um, do bake-offs. Like, all right, we're going to have one of your team members use Cursor, another one use Windsurf. We're going to have somebody else work in Claude Code, and somebody Gemini CLI, and like what works best with our existing code base, right? Okay, great. Let's align on that, and then let's all try and use that one. Because like right now, if you're working in a large company and everyone needs to be using AI here or else kind of a
Right.
thing, like starting with the team members, starting with the people that each and every day are doing things that probably annoy them, and trying to figure out how to use AI to um, remove those annoyances and
Uh-huh.
get them accelerated. That's a great way to start because then you can use the evidence that's being gathered on these small teams to show other teams how this success can help you. And then it can start to become viral because that's the thing you're looking for, right?
Right.
You're looking for like virality, um, and trying to show how, applying AI to this problem can achieve this outsized outcome.
So what do you, when you're talking to leaders, and often leaders are not necessarily technical people or understand AI. They just have, they've seen a bunch of TED Talks, read the newspaper, and said the AI is going to change the world.
Yeah.
And, which is true.
Yes. Yes.
But
It's not wrong.
it's
Yeah.
not wrong. Not wrong. But so how should they think about this? How do they empower their teams and get these kind of experiments going? What kind of behaviors do they need to change?
Mm. Oh, that's a great question. Uh, in thinking back over, um, even before like things like ChatGPT like came into our world, um, there was a movement 10 or 12 years ago, the kind of the BYOT, bring your own tools movement, where
Mhm.
like developers were like super empowered to like bring new tools in the organization. That's
Mhm.
how that's how like GitHub exploded, right?
Oh,
And
really?
got purchased by Microsoft, but for $1 billion because people had used it in open source, and they're like, you know what, it works amazing for open source, and like the merge conflict resolution is so much better here.
Yeah.
It could do wonders here, and then like you know the CISOs were a little caught off guard by all of this, and but there was this power that developers had where they could find the best tools for their jobs and bring them into the organization. Like today, we need the same kind of edge empowerment, right? So as a leader, like empowering your individual team members to go off and say, find the thing that works best for us that will help you do the outsized outcome of whatever it is that you're doing.
Mhm.
Like give them permission to go and use Chat GPT, the paid edition, the free edition, paid edition, because you want to keep your data safe,
Right.
right? You want to, security is important, right? Security and data privacy and those are solved problems if you pay for the solution,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like you wouldn't
You can
run your
buy that.
business. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You wouldn't run your business on like free Gmail, right? Because they're harvesting your
Yeah.
data, right? You pay for the paid version. Empower at the edge, right? Because the kind of acceleration that you'll see there, and the power of giving everybody, kind of the what used to be the mythical 10x improvement on
Right.
yourselves is really honestly true today. Like just in the last few years, right? In the prior role I had, talking with customers and trying to understand how can we meet their needs. We went from doing very like lo-fi. All right, I've talked to a bunch of you. Here's what we're thinking. I need some feedback on this. Went from like very lo-fi kind of Miro-based
Mhm.
mocks to Figma comes into play, and now we're doing like high fidelity things. Not too long ago, uh, we had an idea for a new like GitHub integration kind of a thing, and like vibe coded it in Cloud Code in like a couple of days. Put it in front of
Right.
customers and started getting feedback from it, and like that's hugely transformational because like I honestly I haven't been a developer for a long time at this point,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
like that kind of power in the hands of somebody working in product is transformational, you know? Um, So empower your team members, empower your product owners, empower your scrum masters, figure out how to make use of things like granola or any of these like AI transcription things so that like when you are on a call with people, and the call is recorded and the information from that call becomes available to everybody and then becomes available to your AI tools. Now, suddenly, the things slipping through the cracks, like a lot less, right?
Yeah. But
Um,
we will put in George's tech stack
oh,
into
cool,
the
cool.
show
Yeah, yeah.
notes. So
Yeah,
definitely do
yeah.
that. You ran through like all the different tech you use.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that we talked about before is, and it's very tempting, is you look at your process and you say, okay, there's this thing that's really annoying. I'm going
Mm,
to have AI fix that annoying thing and make that annoying thing easier. But you're
mm.
really just like paving over a bad process in the first place. Like you shouldn't even
Yeah.
be doing it.
You know what? A technique I was taught a long time ago, the five whys,
Hmm.
when trying to debug anything. And like fixing a broken process is debugging, right? You get a bug in your process. Um, I think people don't always ask quite enough questions about why this, why, and to go down the stack. Because you're right. If you just bolt AI onto a broken process, maybe you accelerate the broken process. Maybe if you have a process that requires like five people to sign off on a thing, and three of those people are constantly on the road, and um, now you've just created an even bigger backlog of things that need to be approved. So, like, do you need those five people to approve the things? If three of those people are super unresponsive, are there other people that maybe could approve the things? Like, try and figure
Right.
out, like, yeah, like fix the root cause as much as you can. I mean, in complex systems, maybe there isn't one root cause, but like you gotta figure out how to fix the underlying issue so and then accelerate it
Right.
and then like automate it and then apply AI to it. Um, AI is AI is amazing and feels like magic and can like transform how you work. It may not be the solution to all problems. Like,
What?
you know what I mean?
You
Like,
heretic.
yeah, I know, but like, yeah, you like use a little critical thinking and like, it doesn't have to be the hammer for every nail. Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
But like, just try and figure out, okay, can we solve this problem with just process change, with culture change? AI can come in and like, can we remove this whole thing altogether? Very often you need to have a human in the loop because as of 2025 hallucination is still a thing,
Yeah.
uh, and it will go and make things up. I was doing research on a lead in my last role, and I asked it for like company background and stuff, and it said the CEO is like Bob Smith, and I'm like, that's not right. And I like went through and it was like many wrong things in the analysis that it done.
Right.
And I was like, are you sure? Like this seems wrong. Can you go back and check your work? And they're like, oh, these were placeholders I put in. Like AI actually told me like, oh, I put in these placeholders and I
Uh-huh.
forgot to take them out. So like human needs to be in a loop for a lot of things still, but you can as long as you solve the underlying issue, as long as you find the underlying issue, it can like get that stuff out of your way. But you have to do a little work before you go off and just apply AI to everything.
Yeah, no, I was doing this analysis of a bunch of survey data, and I
Hmm.
said, give me some quotes from the interviews and stuff that back up this finding of the survey data. And it gave me this quote, and I was like, that's too perfect. And I was like,
Yeah.
who said that? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this person. I'm like, show me show me in the files it had made up the person because I wanted
Yes.
to make a point. So it was trying to help me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember when I was at Zenhub, we had transitioned to like we started recording like with people's permission, of course, right? Started recording like customer interaction calls and like discovery calls and then like all those transcripts came back and I remember going to show Tyler, our old CEO, all right, I want to show you what I can do now. And I like ask questions across multiple customer interviews. And it just came back with like made up stuff. And he was like, I don't know. We got there in the end, but that initial first impression, if you don't safeguard, if you don't like say specifically don't make anything up, only use the sources I've provided you, like you need to give it very specific instructions. Otherwise, it will do what an intern would do, and like just try and get it done as quickly as possible. Maybe. I mean, we're a bit beyond intern level at this point, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back a little bit to, we were talking about empowering people at the edge. And one of the things I get talked to with customers, especially large organizations, is you have these teams at the edge who are going really, really fast. How do you gear them into, like you're talking about a 30,000, 50,000, 80,000 person company? You can't move the center of that company that fast because it takes time. So how do you do that? Sort of link this really fast thing that's spinning on the edge, but it needs to go in and out from the center to the edge.
Yeah. So first off, that's hard. It's hard to get done. I kind of witnessed this at IBM in the Watson org. Watson, was started by IBM Research. The code was given to a team to commercialize, and that organization was kind of treated like a startup within IBM for a while. And went, you know what? Most of the IBM rules don't apply here. We want you to move as quickly as possible. We want you to, use modern tools. We want you to use modern ways of working. And again, I think it's that kind of like find those patterns of success, and then use that to help the rest of the organization get over the inertia, get over the status quo, and try and use that to help them change. Like things that happened in Watson started getting copied and pasted into other parts of IBM, right? And that helped the whole company kind of transform. And it was not just like tool stack. Like we were pretty fortunate. We were given a lot of leeway. We were the first organization to roll out GitHub, the first organization to roll out Slack, the first organization to store data in I think box.com at the time, right? Which was like, you're putting IBM data somewhere other than IBM. Are you crazy? And then, yeah, I know. And then we partnered with a CIO organization. There's this guy, Bill Higgins, who ran a project called Whitewater that helped, like we kind of worked together and like used the positive experiences that were happening there as a template for other areas of the business. And it just like one by one, each organization starts to see the success, but also feel a little bit of competitive pressure that this other organization is like starting to outshine you. And so like there were tooling successes, there were cultural changes. When I was at IBM, they still did stack ranking for a long time. And then they built the Watson organization out of the former ones from other different organizations. And then the first year we were in Watson, they're like, all right, now you got to do stack ranking and you can have like 1 and like 2 pluses. and imagine telling like crazy smart, like PhDs that like, I'm going to rank you in this, like, it was a disaster. And the head of HR, after really bad performance cycle, new head of HR came in and asked us, what do you guys think about stack ranking? And like everyone's kind of like, "Uh," and I just kind of I couldn't, just like when I saw you and I was like, yes, like I couldn't help myself. I said, you know what? It stops you from having really cohesive teams that are gonna like have each other's back and um want to help each other get unstuck because it puts you in competition with your peers. And he went, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're fired. Anybody else think like this? And I sat there like, what? I'm fired? He's like, I'm just kidding. This guy's really on to something. Right?
Man.
I know. And I like, yeah. And Watson got rid of stack ranking. And then IBM got rid of stack ranking. And you know, I'll take a little credit in that. But it was in listening to what was happening at each one of the teams that leader then took and then used that to affect change across the organization. And look, if IBM can change things like that, anybody can, you know?
And what that points to is what we've talked about before, that there needs to be an ecosystem change, not just, hey, these teams could change. Or if you could dig into that a little bit. It's not just getting really fast teams.
No, it's because it all feeds into each other. Fast teams without alignment, great. You're lots of motion, but are you going in the right direction? Is that progress? Are you, I think one of the most, one of the things that I experienced over time was that without clear goals, without a clear understanding of what we were trying to achieve, like we could do lots of cool things, but not have any real impact. And the process that gets put in place in an organization, the ability to change and improve, the things that support your team members, tools and like technology, and an ability to be reflective and look at what's going on across an organization and want to improve. All those things are incredibly vital for an organization to actually transform. It's like, it's never just one thing. A lot of people will go like, we're going to do a tooling transformation, or we're going to do an agile transformation, or we're going to do a this and a that. But then there are other structures and systems in place that like are fighting against it. Right. And there's a book by John Cotter where he like talks about having a dual operating system, like when you're trying to affect change, where like you can spin up a second thing over here that can work kind of independently of the other one. I'm probably mangling this a little bit, but like and those are the kind of things you need to be able to have in place in order for organizations are really transformed. Not just say like, thou shalt do this, but, we need to cross the river, go figure it out. And we're going to need everybody's help to figure out how to cross the river. Right.
It's interesting you mentioned the dual operating model, which we've done, implemented a bunch of different times. I was listening to a talk today from this woman, works at, a large organization, hundreds of thousands of people. Her part is 4,000 or 5,000, but interacts with all the other parts. Like it's a one of those backbone kind of things.
Yeah.
And she said actually what they've learned. They've been on this journey for 3 or 4 years now, and they said they learned the cost of maintaining the dual operating model became too expensive, and they had to get rid of it. And I was like, really? And you can sort of see it's like because you're supporting two things, and they sort of said really at one point. She said it helped them get over a part, but then eventually you're paying for 2 different operating models.
Yeah.
And the burden of that became too great to tolerate.
Yeah. I mean, not everything needs to be permanent. Like IBM spun up that Whitewater project to get people over a specific hump. And then and then it was just, this is what we're doing now. I can see that. I can't remember in the Cotter book if it is pitched as like a permanent thing or a transitional thing. I'll have to go back and read that again. I haven't read that one in a while.
And one of the things she was talking about, she said, So one of the things in a dual operating model, for people who don't know, is that you have sort of function leaders, but those function leaders don't tell the people with those functions what to do. They just deploy them, make sure they all this stuff onto agile teams. And he said originally and one of the things you do so they can't tell those people what to do every day is you give them like 13 direct reports. and because that way you cannot tell them what to do. You can just make sure that they're up to snuff, that they have support, they have all that other kind of stuff. And she said they had to go up to 25.
Oh, geez. Because people were so like,
they're so fast. And so we just had, they said now they're like 25. And she said the functional model, that dual operating model, started to break down.
Wow. Okay. Because they had accelerated.
These functional chapters that were operating as agile themselves.
Yeah.
So, this is years into this journey. This is not, what you start with. But it was it really blew my mind. And the other thing is, she said, someone asked, okay, what was the success? And she said, well, it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun, as you were saying earlier. And as my father says, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So I want to end this with, the question I ask everybody who's on the show is, okay, there's a new CEO, new senior leader coming to you and says, I'm going to do one of these agile transformations. Yeah. What's the one piece of advice? I know you give a bunch, but what's the one piece of advice you would give them before they begin?
So one thing, I think, I'm going to say it a couple different ways.
Okay.
One of the things that when I was at IBM, Jenny used to say all the time, every time we heard her, focus on the outcome. Focus on the outcome your customers are trying to achieve. Said another way, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through the early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Now, that phrase, I'd tweak a couple words. If I had been in the room back then, I wouldn't have said software. I would have said working products maybe, or, focus on what it is you're trying to deliver for your customers, and then use that as the thing to help you figure out what you need to accelerate, right? Trying to get value into their hands faster, of higher quality, right? Working software, higher quality, and trying to help them do whatever it is that they're trying to do, right? Like empower them so that they can go and build robots that go around Mars, that like get us to the next phase of self-driving, that get us to figuring out a cure for diseases. Like figure out how your work can benefit your customers and focus on that outcome that they're trying to achieve and help them get there through transforming how you and your teams work and service them. So there you go.
Well, thanks a lot, George. As always, great to talk to you.
Absolutely.
The Agile CEO is brought to you by Scrum Inc. In today's fast-paced world, adaptability is key. Our expert consulting services tailor transformations that drive measurable success, creating resilient, high-performing organizations. Whether you're leading a team, managing an organization, or guiding enterprise-level change, we're here to support your journey. Transform with confidence and achieve the outcomes that matter. Learn more at scruminc.com.